Well, hello there, my friends. Today we're taking a look at a fascinating game called Precipice. Now, if you like the Cold War and if you like animals that can talk, you're certainly going to love this game. But I think the Cold War part is really the kicker here. Just a really fun game, really enjoyable. So right now we need to select the classic map, and we are going to decide between the Ursine Soviet Socialist Republics, that's right, or the United States of America. Now, I think the USA is slightly easier to play with, but we're going to go with the Ursine Soviet Socialist Republics and see just how we do on the world stage. I'll try to jump into some of the specifics for this game, but I might do a separate video as a tutorial for how to play. That being said, I'll try to give you guys as much info as possible here. And as you can see here, this is not a war game. We're trying to avoid nuclear war if at all possible. So there's a number of different things going on here, my friends. First of all, we have these 3 spies, and of course, they are raccoons. You'll soon understand why that is. Down here, we also have military units that we can place on conflict zones. But the most important thing, I think, is going to be the victory points. Whoever gets to the most victory points at the end of 45 turns wins the game. It's pretty standard. Now, you might be asking yourselves, well, how do we grab victory points? Well, see, each of these world regions that are under a specific, powers control, they're going to gather a certain number of victory points. So you see here, South America includes Central America here. We're kind of fighting over it. So why don't we go for South America? It looks like Central America here, and yes, each country is represented by a different animal, which I think is a really cool idea. We actually already have a decent a neutral relationship with them. What we're going to do is we're going to deploy one of our agents. Now, if we ever want to take out one of the enemy agents, we can use our income to actually do that, to counter spy, but we should only do that if we know for sure that there's an enemy agent here. Otherwise, it's a waste of a lot of money. So instead, what we're going to do, guys, we are going to fund an insurgency in Central America, a Marxist insurgency. Now, obviously, the main goal is to eventually have a coup d'etat take over the government, a military coup, and that's really what we want to do. Another thing that's very important in this game is, of course, working on the space program. And currently, we have used up our turns, but the space program is going to be extremely important. The same is true for the US. In other words, you can avoid all this grabbing victory points as long as you can get to space first. Easier said than done. Now, this is one of the parts of the game that's just hilarious. The United States has issued a formal denouncement of your support of insurgents in Central America. Now, we could just go ahead and terminate aid and avoid conflict. We would lose a little respect to Libya, but if we justify it, we are going to push the US, possibly forcing them to accept this situation. The United States has brought evidence of your illicit funding of communist extremists in Central America before the UN Security Council. Because you hold veto powers, the UN cannot intervene, but the prestige of your nation and how it is viewed in the world is on the line. You're in the courtroom of world opinion. How do you proceed? Guys, we're rejecting the evidence, and yes, they have withdrawn the claim. Now, we can get to a point here in this game where there will actually be a nuclear war, and once the nuclear war happens, it's game over. So, if you get to the point where essentially the enemy is threatening to launch nukes, you might need to just go ahead, swallow your pride, and, go elsewhere. The United States has formed a defensive pact with Israel and has stationed a large quantity of troops there. How do you wish to respond? Let's respond in diplomatic mode. As you can see, they are not really going to listen to us. We're going to present our case to the United Nations. Now, if we back down, we are going to lose support with Peru, Burma, and North Korea. If we threaten military intervention, we're definitely going to lose loyalty in Angola. But thankfully, the Americans decided not to mess with us. And this would actually be a good time to go to Angola and go ahead and bring it into the fray. We could even invade it. But of course, invading a country in this game could incur, again, another message to the UN Security Council, and we could end up going to war in a brush fire conflict with the US. Pretty much a war within a war. Really just mini wars that made up the Cold War is what would happen. And you're going to see a lot of those in this game. Now, we want to get that coup ready to go in Central America, so I'm going to try, guys. We only got a 50% chance, but there we go. We have a red Central America. Now we can choose to station troops here. We can even choose to send foreign aid, of course, to assist our comrades. But as you can see here, this is in the American sphere of influence, and they're not going to like that. It isn't technically the South American sphere of influence, so we want to go for Brazil. We want to go for Mexico. All of this stuff looks great. Colombia right there. Let's try and turn this all red. But as you can see, this is one of the most important parts of the game, and that is trying to exploit these nations as much as you can to your advantage. Now, I am going to go ahead and deploy my agents here in Angola. We were having problems there, and last thing I need is for the enemy to take it from us. And over here, we got the standard North Korea, South Korea conflict. Let's see what North Korea is represented by a warthog, and South Korea is represented by a crow, I believe. Very interesting. Also, East and West Germany conflict is still going on. West Germany, a chipmunk. East Germany, a shrew, I believe. And once again, as I said, each country has their own little leader, which I think is a really cool addition to the game. Now, we have one more agent that we could drop elsewhere. Vietnam is looking like a place we obviously want to go, but so is neighboring Thailand. Doesn't seem like they've really made up their mind yet as to who they're going to follow. So we'll potentially go to them next. Now, they've issued a formal denouncement of our support for the coup d'etat in Central America. We're going to justify our aid. We're going to support the communists. Readying nuclear missiles. Oh, boy. Has gone to DEFCON 2. They're fueling ICBMs in preparation for war. Now, of course, we could launch our missiles, but we are going to have to terminate aid, and we're going to lose a lot of respect with several countries. They pretty much called our bluff, and also just killed one of our agents, I believe. Actually, our agent may have potentially survived, but of course that takes back all of the work done in that part of the world. The United States has a defense pact with Israel. Again, we're going to protest, present the case to the United Nations, threaten military intervention, and they are no longer supporting Israel. I think since we had so much difficulty in Central America, obviously we want to go back, but I'm not sure I want to go back so soon. I'm going to start funding the insurgency here in Angola. And I'm also going to try to send yet another one of our spies over here to Brazil. I think it's going to be important to get in here. So let's deploy our agents. We haven't done any counter-spying yet, just because I haven't really seen the need. And we also haven't done much for our space race. So let's start boosting the space race. And as you can see, we can actually check out over here that we're closer than the Americans are to the first orbital satellite. So if you want to win the game that way, that's obviously something to keep your eyes on. Once again, we'll end the turn. Occasionally, another cool thing is events will pop up in this game that affect both nations. Something like, would you like to deliver food aid to sub-Saharan Africa? And if you're able to accomplish those events, you're going to do pretty well. Here's an example right here. Thailand, Vietnam, and South Korea have invested significantly in the infrastructure needed to follow an export-driven economy. Their influence in the manufacturing sector is felt globally, and both countries are demanding more materials that can be sourced locally. So we could try and fulfill this, but I don't believe we're going to be able to. It would be 2 victory points. For that, we would need 60. I believe this is steel. Probably not. That being said, we need 60 of this. We don't have it, so that's not a requirement we can meet. But if we are able to meet that requirement, we could potentially really get these countries to like us. Now, the coup is still pretty far from being ready to go, so I'm going to be careful here. I'm going to fund the insurgency in Brazil. Yes, baby. Muito bom. There we go. I'm still not ready to go for the coup now. 40% chance of a win in the coup is not good enough for me. I'm waiting another turn. I'm throwing some more guns into the mix here. And I'm also going to do the same here in Angola. So I'm sort of playing, both countries here. Well, definitely both countries, both continents as well, because you want to have control of entire regions, not just, small parts of a continent. You actually want to try and control the entire thing if you can. So we'll end the turn there, and I think next turn we are definitely going to go into a fight. Now, that's a brush fire conflict, what we just saw, guys. We're about to take a look at it. Essentially, we are at war in Thailand with the United States. Now, we have 5 units on our side. We can protest, but I'm actually going to ignore it. I actually want to fight them here in this brushfire conflict. Now, we can train partisans to make our guys even stronger. We can even aid the partisans as well. Training them would obviously be better. So I'm going to provide some training to these partisan units, and they have our gratitude. That should help them fight the American invader here. Pretty soon here, I can also go ahead and try and do a coup d'etat in these countries. But I'm going to fund the insurgency in Brazil one more time. So this should be a really, really strong insurgency. And once we take this area, I'm hoping that the capitalists won't be able to put up much of a fight. Let's end the turn. Alright, it looks like the Americans are putting a lot into that fight in Thailand, the Thai War. It's really 4 versus 4, so we could keep on supporting that, or we could attempt a coup. I am going to attempt the coup right here, and that's going to be a red Brazil. Absolutely beautiful, guys. I'm also going to drop some foreign aid, but not quite this turn. Although you can see how beautifully red that's turned out. Over here, could increase diplomacy. We could invade. We could counter-spy. There's a lot of different things. Or we could do some stuff here in Central America. And actually, we're going to use the sabotage button to damage pretty much the American influence here in Central America, and I'll withdraw an agent. I think we've pretty much given up on taking over Honduras, El Salvador, etc. The Americans really want to keep it. Formal denouncement, we're going to justify our aid for the coup, we're going to support the communists, we're going to ready our nuclear missiles, and we can now go into a nuclear war or terminate aid. Man, the right thing to do is terminate aid. That's all we're going to be able to do. So we're going to have to terminate aid for our communist friends. Now, don't worry, we can still take over the country. We just have to find the right entrance. Hell, we could even invade the country and see exactly what the enemy's going to do. Now, currently, yep, we could even do another coup. I'm going to do a second coup, but this actually strengthened the enemy, so we're going to go for an invasion of the country, guys. Here we go. Now, it looks like the Brazilians have quite a few men ready to defend, but we are going to go to war. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this gameplay video of Precipice. There's so much more to this game than just this. We've even got a news article over here. Down here in the loyal left, we can get specifics on loyalty, region demand, what regions are lacking. Essentially, you can go to some regions that are lacking food or other resources and pretty much bribe them into joining your pact. That being said, guys, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of niche videos, and as you can imagine, we don't have the largest audience, so we are always trying to grow that. Drop a comment down below. What do you think about this game? Would you like to see this some more in the future here on the channel? I sure would. I think it's a really cool approach here to the Cold War, and the addition of the animals here, I don't know how most people feel about it, but I've actually grown quite fond of it. It really gives each nation their own specific feeling here. Alright, guys, thank you so much. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.